This is Jahara Malik, a 17-year-old girl from Miami who went out shopping one evening. She grabbed a knife because she could not find her pepper spray. She met up with her boyfriend in a parking garage later that night, and before the end of that night, he was found bleeding out on the concrete floor. And she wants you to believe the whole thing was just an accident.
Lawler was found with a stab wound to the chest on the third floor of the parking garage. Investigators say surveillance video shows Malik dropping a knife near the crime scene. She told investigators the two were, quote, horseplaying just before the stabbing.
I want the max. That's what I want. A life for a life. You get what I'm saying? She took my son's life for no reason. She took my son's life because he was honest with her, that he didn't want to be with her, and she not realizing her actions, her behavior, and her entitlement is the reason why he didn't want to be with her.
To understand what happened on the night of December 20th, 2024, you need to know who the two people in this story were, because this was not some random situation between strangers. These were two teenagers from the same Miami neighborhood who had known each other, dated each other, and had history with each other. And all of that history played a role in how things ended. Yahkeim Lawler, who everybody called Chemo, was 17 years old and a junior at Miami Northwestern Senior High School. He was Haitian American and had grown up right there in Miami's Little Haiti and Liberty City area. By every account from people who knew him, he was exactly the kind of kid you want your son to be. He played running back on the school football team and had been on a football field since he was 3 years old. One of his closest friends said they met at just that age and had been like brothers ever since, sharing everything from hangouts to all-night sessions at each other's houses. Beyond football, Chemo was pulling straight A's in school and already had a plan for his future. His mother, Natalie Jean, has talked publicly about how her son wanted to be a stockbroker and work in finance one day. His entire family had been gearing up for his senior year, his prom, and his college applications. None of it got the chance to happen.
He was the ultimate competitor. At anything he did, he loved everybody. Just the perfect kid in my eyes.
Chemo was a homebody at heart, the kind of guy who loved being with his family and chilling at home with his PlayStation more than he was out in the streets. Then there was Jahara Malik, who was also 17 and a student at a different Miami area high school. She and Chemo had what people call an on-again, off-again relationship, meaning they were together sometimes and broken up other times, cycling back and forth the way a lot of teenage relationships do. The important thing to know about the period leading up to that night, and this detail becomes very significant later, is that according to Chemo's mother, Chemo had recently sat down with Jahara and told her honestly that he was walking away from the relationship for good. She had no prior arrests, criminal history, or serious trouble on her record, aside from one school fight that had gotten her a 10-day suspension. On paper, she was just a regular teenage girl navigating a messy breakup.
Low network, man. I got low net. It came out, goddamn.
But on the evening of December 20th, 2024, she made a series of decisions that would change everything. That evening, Jahara had plans to go shopping with one of her female friends, which was completely normal. The thing she usually did before heading out, especially when she was using a rideshare, was grab her pepper spray to carry for personal protection. But when she went to get it that day, she could not find it anywhere, and rather than leaving without anything, she picked up a knife instead. She and her friend went out, did their shopping, and made her way over to Chemo's apartment complex at the 6100 block of Northwest 6th Court in Little Haiti to meet up with him. Sometime around 11 o'clock that night, they arrived by car and found Chemo on the 3rd floor of the building's parking garage. What happened next is where the whole case falls apart into two completely different stories. Jahara told police that she and Chemo were horseplaying, just messing around with each other the way you do when you are comfortable with someone, and that somehow in the middle of all that, she ended up stabbing him in the chest with the knife she had brought. What is not in dispute is what the parking garage surveillance cameras picked up. The footage showed Jahara and her friend arriving and getting out of their car, then showed Chemo bleeding from his chest, and then showed Jahara dropping the knife on the ground right there near where they were standing. There were no other witnesses in that garage, no big fight or struggle, and no other stab wounds on Chemo's body, just one single puncture to his chest. Rather than running, Jahara called 911 herself, stayed at the scene, and started trying to do life-saving measures on Chemo while waiting for paramedics to get there. When they arrived, they rushed him to Jackson Memorial Hospital's Ryder Trauma Center, but roughly 1 hour after the ambulance left that garage, Yahkeim Lawler was pronounced dead. When police got to the scene that night, they questioned Jahara right there, and she told them the horseplaying story straight away. Because her account was consistent, she had stayed at the scene, cooperated fully, and the surveillance footage did not clearly show any kind of intentional attack, the police released her without charging her that same night. And when Chemo's mother, Natalie Jean, found out that the girl who stabbed her son was going home, everything shifted. So Natalie did what any mother in her position would do and made the whole thing impossible to ignore. For the next several weeks, she led protests outside the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office, bringing the Haitian American community and Chemo's classmates from Miami Northwestern Senior High School with her. She had his face printed on shirts that supporters wore at every demonstration and spoke to every news outlet that would give her a microphone. The noise that the family made is directly connected to what eventually happened. At a major demonstration on January 22, 2025, about a month after the stabbing, dozens of people gathered outside the state attorney's office.
It's been a month since Yahkeim Lawler was killed outside of his own home, and today, for hours, his family stood with signs in hand, chanting, demanding accountability.
We want justice!
We want justice! On December 12th, Yahkeim Lawler, also known as Chemo, was stabbed to death. His family alleges his ex-girlfriend is to blame. Nobody has been charged.
December 12th, my ex-wife got a text message from her saying that my son broke up with her. And December 20th, he was murdered.
This was the scene from that day. Police responded to the area of Northwest 6th Court and 61st Street. That's where officers found Chemo stabbed. He later died. Wednesday, outside of the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office, his loved ones were pleading for justice.
Imagine you raising a kid that's an honorable kid, a good student, you know, an athlete who could be something in the future, and somebody just took his life away.
Miami police told us back in December that the suspect was a 17-year-old female, and she was taken into custody for questioning and released. They did not say what her connection to the victim was.
I just don't understand it, so we want justice, that's it.
The teen has not been named by authorities. We have reached out to people connected to the alleged suspect. We have not yet heard back.
Kimo was a fun-loving guy. He loved his family and his love his PlayStation, and his passion was football. And he just didn't deserve what he got.
He couldn't go a day without being happy.
We want justice!
Now, family and friends are forced to remember Kimo instead of living alongside him.
I want justice. That would at least ease the pain a little bit. I shouldn't have to be fighting for my son justice.
At this time, Miami police say there are no updates in this case, and we reached out to the state attorney's office, who says that this is a police investigation and evidence and information is still being gathered, and at this time, no arrests have been made.
Natalie told the crowd, "Imagine raising a kid who's a good kid, an honor student, an athlete with a bright future, and then someone just takes his life away. I want justice. That would at least ease the pain a little bit. I shouldn't have to be fighting for my son's justice." Kimo's father, Garvid Lawler, put it plainly, "I just don't understand it. We want justice. That's it." The reason prosecutors hadn't moved yet was that they were waiting for a specific official determination from the Miami-Dade medical examiner's office. In Florida, before you can charge someone with manslaughter in a case like this, you need the medical examiner to formally rule the death a homicide rather than an accident or something undetermined. That process took more than a month, and when the ruling finally came through and officially classified Kimo's death as a homicide, prosecutors moved. On January 28, 2025, which was 39 days after the stabbing, Jahara Malik was arrested and charged with manslaughter with a deadly weapon. She was taken first to a juvenile facility, but prosecutors quickly filed a motion to transfer her case into adult court, and that's where it stayed from that point forward. Kimo's father called the moment a bittersweet one because even though an arrest had finally come, the fact that it took nearly 6 weeks when everyone knew from day one what had happened sat with the family in a complicated way. Jahara's first court appearance came in early February 2025, where she formally entered a not guilty plea and was released on a $50,000 bond with a GPS ankle monitor on her leg, which her family paid.
Right now, a teenage girl is accused of fatally stabbing her 17-year-old ex-boyfriend outside his Miami apartment last month, and she has posted bond.
17-year-old Jahara Malik was charged with manslaughter. Local 10 Samir and FC joining us live from the jail in West Miami-Dade with what happened when she faced a judge. Samir, fill us in.
Sinella and JC. So despite the state's attempt to keep this teenager locked up here at TGK, the judge ultimately issuing her a $50,000 bond, saying she does not believe the teenager will be a flight risk due to her prior actions of staying on scene and calling 911.
I'm going to set a bond in the amount of $50,000.
17-year-old Jahara Malik set to be released on bond with a GPS ankle monitor as she stands accused of fatally stabbing her ex-boyfriend, 17-year-old Yahkeim Lawler.
She has no priors. She surrendered herself.
On December 20th, Lawler was found with a stab wound to the chest on the 3rd floor of a parking garage at his apartment complex in the 6100 block of Northwest 6th Court. Investigators say surveillance footage shows Malik dropping the knife near the crime scene.
She stayed at the scene. She called 911. She cooperated with the police. The question about bond, the purpose of bond, as we all know, is to assure that the person will appear in court.
Exactly.
She didn't leave the scene after she just stabbed somebody and that person died.
She told investigators she brought a knife because she used a ride share to get to Lawler's address and would normally carry pepper spray but couldn't find it.
That decision brought the Lawler family right back into the streets because they felt that a girl who had killed their son should be sitting behind bars, not walking around her neighborhood. Then, on February 6, 2025, there was a pre-trial detention hearing before Miami-Dade Circuit Judge Christine Hernandez, and this is where the evidence that prosecutors had against Jahara started coming out in public for the first time.
For a 17-year-old facing a manslaughter charge for killing her ex-boyfriend. The state arguing for a tougher set of house arrest restrictions as the victim's family urges the judge to lock her up. Local 10's Leanne Morning is joining us live from Miami with what the judge had to consider and her decision today. Leanne.
The victim's family was adamant they wanted to see this teenage girl locked up. Instead, the state argued for a tougher house arrest, saying even though she showed a pattern of aggressive behavior, she was still a teenager with no priors.
The Lawler family packed every seat in the courtroom and begged the judge to revoke her bond and put her in jail. Prosecutors couldn't ask for full detention because manslaughter is what Florida law calls a bondable offense, meaning a defendant who has no prior criminal record cannot automatically be held without bond on that charge. But they did push hard for the strictest possible form of house arrest. To make that argument, prosecutors brought out two pieces of evidence that painted a very different picture of Jahara than the one her defense team was presenting. First, they showed the judge a video from her school of a physical fight between Jahara and another girl in a classroom, the same incident that had gotten her a 10-day suspension. Then they brought up text messages where Jahara had allegedly talked about harming other people and noted that she had a pattern of carrying a knife. The argument from the state was that this girl had a history of aggression that went beyond one bad night.
The judge considered evidence presented by the state to include text messages where she allegedly talks about harming others and that Malik was known to carry a knife. The judge also saw this video purporting to show Malik in a violent fight at her high school.
Jahara's defense team, led by attorney Larry Handfield, pushed back on all of it by pointing to the same facts they had been highlighting since the beginning. She had no prior arrests, she had called 911 herself on the night of the stabbing, she had stayed to help Kaimo, she had cooperated with police completely, and she had been compliant with every condition of her release. Handfield also asked the judge to allow Jahara to temporarily relocate to her aunt's home in Port St. Lucie, a city about 2 hours north of Miami, so she could continue her schooling there instead of remaining in Miami-Dade County. Judge Hernandez sided with neither camp fully. She upgraded Jahara's house arrest to total lockdown, which is the strictest level short of actually putting her in jail. Jahara could only leave home to attend school or to meet with her attorney, with the GPS monitor on at all times and an immediate return to jail waiting for her if she violated a single condition. The request to relocate to Port St. Lucie was denied because the judge had concerns about monitoring her outside of the court's home county.
She did a crime, she need to pay the time. Simple as that. Why would it feel better because she's on total lockdown?
Kimo's mother walked out of that courthouse and told reporters exactly what she thought about the horseplaying story that the defense kept pushing. Who horseplays with a knife? You were learned as a kid that you don't play with sharp objects. She added, "She took my son from me. I trusted her. My son trusted her, and she betrayed our trust." Those words would become the heartbeat of the family's position for the next 14 months as the case slowly wound its way toward a resolution. A trial date was set for May 2025, but it never happened, and then the months just kept going by. The case dragged through all of 2025 with the family showing up, speaking to press, and keeping the hashtags alive, while Jahara remained on total lockdown house arrest, going to school under GPS monitoring and waiting. By the time March 16, 2026 rolled around, Kimo had been gone for more than 14 months and the case still had not gone to trial. Then, on March 16, 2026, Jahara made a decision that ended any chance of a trial, walking into courtroom 28 at the Richard E. Gerstein Justice Building in downtown Miami, standing before Judge Christine Hernandez and entering an open guilty plea to 2 charges: manslaughter with a deadly weapon and carrying a concealed weapon.
This is another breaking story we're following for you. A teenage girl stabbed her boyfriend to death amid an argument, and today, nearly 2 years later, she's pleaded guilty. The deadly stabbing happened in Northwest Miami-Dade, December of 2024.
Christian Colon is with us now with that major update from the courtroom. And Christian, will this teenager get any prison time for killing her boyfriend?
Yeah, that's right. Jahara Malik pleaded guilty today, and now she will let the judge decide her sentencing. When it comes to prison time, she is facing up to 30 years behind bars. Take a look. This is Jahara Malik. She was 17 at the time that she stabbed her boyfriend. She's charged with manslaughter for killing her boyfriend, 17-year-old Yahkeim Lawler. Lawler's family has been very vocal since the beginning, holding protests outside the Miami-Dade State Attorney's office, demanding accountability. Their calls for justice eventually led prosecutors to actually file charges against Malik more than a month after the killing. Today, nearly 2 years later, the case will not go to trial. There was no plea offer. Instead, Malik pleaded guilty and will allow a judge to decide her punishment.
There was no deal with prosecutors, meaning nobody had agreed in advance on what her punishment would be. Judge Hernandez made sure she understood the full weight of what she was agreeing to, telling her directly, "I can give you anywhere from a youthful offender sentence if the court deems that appropriate," which means that could be anywhere from straight probation all the way to 4 years in state prison followed by a probationary sentence, or if the court deems it fit, I can sentence you to state prison up to 30 years, making it clear that every decision about her future rested entirely with the court and that no promises had been made to anybody. After the hearing, Jahara's attorney, Larry Handfield, talked to reporters and explained the reasoning behind the open plea. He said she wanted to accept responsibility, even though this was the unintended consequence of both their actions. She's been remorseful from day one. She immediately called 911 and started doing life-saving measures. So this was something that neither one of them wanted. This was nothing that she sought. And she's been devastated since day one. She's going to have to deal with this for the rest of her life. Handfield's plan for the sentencing hearing is to ask the judge to grant what Florida law calls youthful offender status, which is a special category available to defendants who are under 21 years old and charged as adults. If the judge agrees to that, the sentence gets capped at roughly 4 years in prison plus probation, or she could be sent to a boot camp or intensive corrections program as an alternative to a regular prison sentence. If the judge decides to treat this as a standard adult manslaughter case instead, the number goes all the way up to 30 years. Nathalie Jean was outside that courthouse right after the plea came through, and she was not softened by any of it. She told reporters the moment felt bittersweet after what she counted as a year, 2 months, and 26 days of waiting, and she challenged whether the guilty plea was even real. I don't think her guilty plea is genuine, because if it was genuine, she would have taken accountability the day it happened. I feel like she just don't have any options left.
I want the max. You know, that's what I want. A life for a life. You get what I'm saying? She took my son's life for no reason. She took my son's life because he was honest with her, that he didn't want to be with her, and she not realizing her actions, her behavior, and her entitlement is the reason why he didn't want to be with her.
The Lawler family will stand before the judge on May 5, 2025, and deliver victim impact statements, telling Judge Christine Hernandez what the loss of their son has cost them before that judge decides where Jahara Malik spends the next portion of her life. Kaimo's funeral was held on January 4, 2025 at the Haitian Evangelical Baptist Church of Miami, with mourners dressed in white and green because those were his favorite colors. Friends stood up and talked about a kid who had been on a football field with some of them before they were even old enough to remember it clearly.
Well, tonight, final remembrances were held for 17-year-old Yahkeim Lawler, known by his friends as Chemo. He was killed in a stabbing on December 20th, and it happened in the area of Northwest 6th Court and 61st Street. The family has accused his 17-year-old ex-girlfriend of stabbing him to death. Many gathered today at the Haitian Evangelical Baptist Church of Miami for his funeral service. Family members spoke on all the support they've received.
Seeing how much love he's getting and how much everybody got for, how much love everyone got for him is so mind-blowing. My baby brother was loved, and me and my family appreciate it for all the love you guys showing.
Chemo was a senior at Miami Northwestern High School and a running back for its football team. He had dreams of becoming a stockbroker.
One of them said, "Instead of asking God why, I want to say, God, thank you for allowing my little brother to live a great life in a short period of time."
So instead of asking God why, I want to say, God, thank you for allowing my little brother to live a great life in a short period of time.
He was 17, pulling straight A's, playing football, dreaming about working in finance, and supposed to be going to prom. Instead, his mother keeps a shrine for him in the middle of her living room with his pictures, flowers, and mementos, and she spends her time going to courthouses instead of sending him off to college. Do you think Jahara will be sentenced as a youthful offender? Let me know what you think in the comments section below.
Time seemed to all brief. Don't lengthen it now with undue grief. Lift me up in your heart, share with me. God wanted me, now God set me free.
Behind your obituary, you have the address where we'll be heading. After the cemetery, we will be going to Emmanuel, Latina, which is across the street from the cemetery, so that way we could continue. Thank you so much again for choosing Funeral Home. God bless you. And Mom, one last viewing just for you.
Open the floodgates of heaven. Let it rain.
We're going to ask that you stand, please, all over the building. Please stay in your place. Nobody come up here. Just stand where you are. The only people that should be here should be the immediate family and the pallbearers. That's it. The viewing for the public is done.
Open the floodgates of heaven. Let it rain. Let it rain. Let it rain. Lord, open the
Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.